All right, we are on lesson 1.6, and this is place value through thousandths. So I started off, I've got our notebook pulled up here. This is page 5. It's our place value chart. One thing I want to point out before we continue with today's lesson is notice where our decimal point is here. And all of your numbers to the right of this, notice how they all end. THS. THS, THS. Okay, so notice that is to the right. Because if you say that it's in the tens, this is your tens place. This is your tenths place. Same thing with hundreds. This is in your hundreds place. This one is your hundredths place. So that TH is very, very important, and that will take you to different places in your numbers, so don't forget that as we're working to the right of our decimal point, all right? Okay, with that said, let's look at lesson 1.6 in our notes, and we're going to start with example 1, and we're going to move into it. So example 1 says, 5 tree taps produce enough maple sap to gain 1 gallon or about 79 hundredths liters of syrup. Read and write the number of liters in word form. Okay, so looking at this, first thing they want us to do, and we did this when we compared our numbers, was we're going to put it into our place value chart. So looking here, we have our decimal here, so one spot to the left is our 3, so that goes in our ones place. One spot to the right is a 7, so that is my tenths place. And then my 9 is in my hundredths place. Okay, now when we are writing this, we are looking for the place value that is in the last digit, which is my 9. And what place is this in? It is in the hundredths. Now, just like we did on the video before, if I end up going too fast, feel free to pause it, rewind, rewatch it, whatever you need to help you so that you get these notes. And this next part I highlighted. If you just want to underline it, that's fine. But remember when we said that there was a word or that and meant a special thing, and so not to use it when we were saying, like, instead of 104, some people were saying 104. And I said don't use that word because we're going to use the word and for a decimal point. Okay, so looking here, for our word form, we want to know how many holes do we have? Well, we have 3. So we have 3. Our decimal point means and. And then this number as a whole is 79. So that's the next part that we write, 79. And because our last place value is in the hundredths, we're writing hundredths. So again, word form is exactly like I would say it. So if I was looking at this number, I would say 3 and 79 hundredths. Okay, let's look at example 2. All right, example 2 says circle the digit in the thousandths place. So thousandths place is what we're looking for, then write the value of the digit. And remember, value, it's not asking what place it's in because we already know it's going to be in the thousandths place. We're looking for what is it worth. Okay, so thousandths, first thing, the thousandths place is how many places to the right of your decimal? Well, if we look up at our place value chart, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So it's 3 places to the right. So let's circle our digit up here. That is 3 places to the right. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we're going to circle our 7. And the value of the digit is 7. And because it's in the thousandths place, it's 7 thousandths. So 7 thousandths. All right, we're going to get into some expanded form now. So they give you the word form for example 3. Write 5 and 614 thousandths in standard form and expanded form. So let's first write just the number. So we have 5. And what did we say that and meant? Decimal point. And then if I take off the thousandths, my next part here is 614. Okay, so I have 614, and because it's the thousandths place, my last number should be in the thousandths place, so I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so I am correct with that. So there's my standard form, and now let's write it in expanded form. Expanded form, we've got a couple different ways that we're going to look at this, just like we did when we had our whole numbers. So starting off here, we're going to always start with our whole numbers, so this one breaks down to just 5. And now we're looking at each place. So we have our tenths, our hundredths, our thousandths. So we have a 6 in our tenths place, so we want to show that we have 6 tenths. So there's my 6 tenths. And then we have a 1 in my hundredths place. So I'm going to show 1/100th. Now what that means is that I need 2 places. Okay, so I have my whole number, decimal, and after my decimal I need 2 spots. So my 1 does not go in my tenths place, my 1 needs to go in my hundredths place. Okay, and that means then that I need to put my 0 to represent my tenths there. And my last one, again, my decimal's there, so I'm looking at my 4. My 4 from my decimal point is 1, 2, 3 spots because I'm in my thousandths. So I need 3 spots, and then my 4 can go there. So again, in my 2 spots there, I need to hold place with my 0. Now notice, after your decimal, you have a decimal point in each of these. I have a lot of students in the past years that they'll just put the decimal here and then put a 1 and a 4. And they don't put the decimals there. Well, that's a totally different number because you're adding these all up. This needs to be 1/100th, not 1. This needs to be 4 thousandths, not 4. Okay, another way you could write it, you might choose instead of decimal points to write it as fractions. So you could still have 5 as your whole number, and then instead of 6 tenths written this way, you might write 6 tenths as a fraction. And then instead of 1/100th written that way, you might write 1/100th as a fraction. And then same with your 4 thousandths. 4 thousandths as a fraction. So either of those ways for expanded form is just fine. All right, now we're looking at what places they're in. We already talked that the 5 is in the ones place. The 6 we said was in the tenths. Don't forget that THS. The 1 was in the hundredths. Again, don't forget that THS. And the 4 was in the thousandths. And one more time, that THS. Again, if I went too fast, go ahead and pause it, rewind, go back if you need to. All right, the guided practice, I would like you to, after I give the directions for these, pause the video, and I want you to try and do it before you look at what the answer is. So number 1 says circle the digit in the tenths place. So please pause right now and circle it, and then come back and see if you are correct. All right, now that you've checked number 1, go ahead and look at number 2, circle the digit in the hundredths place. Again, please pause it right now. Go ahead and do that problem, and then come back and check and see if you're correct. All right, so we've done guided practice 1 and 2. Go ahead and flip to the next page, and we've got a couple here to do. So we're going to start off with number 3. We're going to write 5 and 87 hundredths. Just like we did on 1 and 2, I would like you to pause it right now. Please try that problem and then come back and check and see if you are correct. If for some reason you have something different than I have after you have done it, please change it. So we have 5. We said and meant decimal. Hundredths is what we need to go to, so we know that this is tenths, hundredths, so we need 2 place values, and we need to put in my 87. So there's your answer for that one. Now, this one looks a little bit different because it breaks it down more so than what we have for expanded form. So looking at this, this is one problem. So what is 2 times 10? 20. Okay, and then we have our plus symbol. And then what is 6 times 1? 6. And then what is 9 times 1/10? 9/10. And what is 1 times 1/100th? 1/100th. That's kind of hard to see, guys, sorry. See if I can get it back for you. Ooh, that's really hard to see. There we go. And the last one, what is 4 times 1,000th? 4,000ths. All right, now that we have this, now I would like you to pause it, see if you can put that together and make the standard form, and then come back and check, please. So 20 plus 6 is 26. And then I have my decimal. I need a 9 in my tenths place, a 1 in my hundredths, and a 4 in my thousandths. So there's example 4. Example 5. Write 19 and 4/10 in expanded form. So again, please pause this right now, do that problem, and then come back and check. So my 1 is in my tens place, so I have 10 and my 9, which makes sense because what's 10 plus 9? 19. And then I have 4/10. You can write it that way, or you can still have your whole numbers the same, but instead of writing 4/10 as a decimal, you might choose to write, sorry guys, the lights went off because I was sitting here too long. So instead of 4/10 as a decimal, you might choose to write 4/10 as a fraction, so either of those are fine. And our last one, you are writing that number in word form, and I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want you to hear it before you actually write it. So please look at that, write that in word form, pause the video to do that, and then come back and check. So looking here, our whole number is 63. What word did we say meant our decimal point? And then here our number after our decimal is 47. And what place is my last digit in? The hundredths. So we have hundredths. And for that one, don't forget your THS. Okay? All of your notes are done for this particular lesson. Please, what I would like you to do is raise your hand, let the sub see your notes that you have finished your notes, and then she will give you your assignment to continue to work on. And whatever time is left of class, that is what you have time to work on your assignment. This assignment is due tomorrow.